Welcome to the Offshore Club's fun-filled, fact-filled, fast-paced blockbuster podcast, Coffee with Carib Carter, coming to you exclusively from where the sun never sets on the good life at a great price. And now, fill up your favorite coffee mug and join your expert and your guide, Carib Carter Clues.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Carib Carter Clues, and welcome to, let me grab my cup here. Coffee with Carib Carter. Woo! Episode 86. 86 visits we've had together. I've enjoyed every second. I hope you have too. And today, I guarantee you're going to enjoy it. I'll guarantee you you're going to enjoy it because I have a blockbuster interview with the investment guru. Let me put the proper emphasis here. I'm talking all caps here. The investment guru. Okay. This gentleman is going to make you money. Okay. His name, I've known him for a little over 2 years now. I'm a tremendous admirer of him. Tim Melvin. Now, right now, let me guarantee you something. A bunch of people right now who are watching are saying, oh, Tim Melvin, of course he's the investment guru. You know how good Tim is? You know how good Tim is? I'm going to tell you how good Tim is. The top hedge fund managers. Every time I try and say that, I can't get it out. The top hedge fund managers have Tim on their speed dial. And now you're going to have him on your screen because he and I are going to talk. We're going to talk about investments. One thing you're going to really love is he has an area, a unique little niche. You know, I always tell people the riches are in the niches. Okay. Tim has a niche that he's going to talk to you about. He's going to tell you all about it. This guy doesn't hold back anything. He's one of us. He's a blue collar type guy. But his niche is banks, small banks. Okay. Now look at this chart and I'm going to interpret it for you. See the red line? That's the S&P 500 since what's the year there? 2020, 2000. Okay. Kind of flat line there. And right now it's doing even worse. Look at the blue line. That's the tiny banks, the small banks that Tim Melvin is an expert in telling you which ones to invest in. Do you see the figure? It has beat the S&P by 2,325%. Think you could use that money? I think you could, particularly when you move offshore. You know, I get notes from people all the time. Got a note this morning from a longtime friend, been a friend for over 30 years, great guy. And he said, you know, I'm thinking of heading down to Grand Pacifica. You know, my wife and I look around come December. Grand Pacific is the Mike Cobb residential resort community, the premier residential resort community in Nicaragua. And when I was talking to him about it, you know, it occurred to me that a lot of folks are moving down. I get notes from all of you all the time. Moving down, considering moving down. And sometimes people wonder, well, you know, how about my income when I'm down there? Well, you know, you live for about a quarter of what you do up here in any Central American, most South American countries. So you don't have to worry too much. You get $2,000 a month, Social Security, live like a king. Working remote, just do it in your spare time at the beach. After all, you're in the sun, sand, and surf when you make your move south of the border. But also with Tim Melvin, with those kind of returns, I think he's averaged 20 to 25% returns a year. That's like 5 times as good as your standard funds out there. Okay, they'll tell you they're 10% a year. They're not. I think the Harvard Endowment Fund hits around 6%. He's 20 to 25%. So you're going to live very well. And we're going to talk more about it. Tim's going to explain it all to you much better than I can because it takes my full concentration, folks, just to understand it. It's numbers, and I ain't a numbers guy, but I am a Tim Melvin guy. And I think after this interview, you're going to be too. Okay. We're going to look, speaking of investments, going to take a look at a property in Costa Rica. Costa Rica, we don't go too often, do we? I don't do talk a lot about properties in Costa Rica, and I'll tell you why. To me, it's a little too expensive. You know, you can live for about half of what you can live in the U.S. very, very nicely. But if I can live for a quarter or a third in some of the other countries around Costa Rica, I got to weigh that. I got to weigh that. I have to. But nonetheless, I know we have a lot of Offshore Club members who want to know about Costa Rica. So I found a place. I've shown you a couple places, but this one is very unique. This is not for everyone. Okay. I think you're all going to find it interesting. And some of you are going to feel a little tinge of temptation. That might be fun. Okay. I'm going to tell you, it's kind of like, let's call it the ultimate one-off. Okay. Ultimate one-off. Okay. Think about that. When I show you, you're going to see what I mean. I find it kind of appealing because I like a camping idea. Okay. Not rugged camping. I'm not a pup tent type guy, but you're going to see it's the ultimate one-off. You're going to see that. Plus, we are going to finish with a new feature on Coffee with Carib Carter. I'm going to start interchanging our Carib Carter motivation minutes with what I'm going to call the Carib Carter Quickie quiz. Okay, and the Quickie quiz. I'm not going to do it every week because we're going to alternate them. But when I give you a Quickie quiz, and like I'm gonna every week choose like the 25th person to respond, email or text message or 15th, whatever. Not just the person that gets there first, but give everybody a chance because some people can't get there as quickly. So we'll pick it at random. Which one is fun? You get the person whose name comes up and with the right answer gets a $25 gift card. That one says 10. That's wrong. It's going to be a $25 gift card from Carib Carter. Okay. All right. That's going to be our Carib Carter Quickie quiz. I have a good question for you today. They're not going to be easy, but some of you are going to know it right off the top. Others are going to say, I never heard of such thing in my life. But the person who gets chosen, I think we're going to take the 25th response this time, it is going to get the $25 Amazon gift card. And I'll send, once you win, I'll send you the number and you got 25 bucks. So a lot of great stuff today. And before we get to all that other I told you about, I want to take just a few minutes. I'm going to hold it. I'm looking at my clock. I'm going to hold it to 10 minutes total. Okay. 10 minutes total. Because I know you all, you got other things to do besides visiting with me, even though I appreciate your visiting with me. I really do. Okay. Thank you. But I want to take about 10 minutes to talk about the future of Latin America, Central and South America, and your future, because I think they're intertwined, and I think it's very important. Okay, I think it's very important. Now, I'm not Nostradamus, I'm not Edgar Casey, I'm not the Psychic Friends Network, even though I used to write for the Psychic Friends Network. One of these times I'll tell you about that. Some incredibly funny stories. But at any rate, I do want to do a little predicting for you. Okay, I'm going to predict. It's a twofold prediction. Matter of fact, I just did a column about this, a Clues Views column. Go to offshore.club, look at Clues Views columns. You'll see them there. The one I just did, I think it's called like To Seek a Newer World, okay, from Tennyson. 'Tis not too late to seek a newer world. Check the column out because it's going to say a little bit of what I'm saying here now, okay? Okay, the future's twofold. You want to consider what your future is going to be if you stay in the U.S., what your future is going to be if you make your move south of the border to the good life at a great price in Central and South America. It's so, God works in mysterious ways. Right before I came on, I got a message from a dear friend of mine from over 40 years ago now, when I was director of communications for the U.S. Senate. And she was saying, Carter, I understand what you're saying, but I can't bring myself to leave the U.S. And of course, I understand completely. Partying is sweet sorrow. Okay, partying is sweet sorrow. Separation anxiety is real, and rightly so. But because I worked with her in Washington, wonderful person. It reminded me. I think she was with me one time when we visited the White House, right? And with President Reagan, an incredible person. And somebody asked him, it was just a small group of us. I think she was there. And somebody said to President Reagan, why'd you leave the Democrat Party? Some of you who don't know this, he was a Democrat for his entire life before he switched to Republican, became governor of California, then president of the United States. I'm blabbing too much, so my 10 minutes is rolling by. But they asked him, why'd you leave the Democrat Party? And Reagan looked down and he said, well, I didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left me. Well, I'm afraid that says it all. The U.S. has left you. If you're a good, decent, hardworking American, high standards, traditional values, the U.S. has left you, which is why, let's listen to these figures. This is from a recent Gallup poll. This is stunning to me. But you're going to identify with what I'm about to tell you. Okay, there's the chart there. Confidence in U.S. institutions down, average at new low. Americans' confidence in the presidency, 23%. It's only 23% of the people. It's only like a little over 1 in 4 have any confidence left. 1 in 5 have any confidence left in the presidency. How about in our criminal justice system? 14% have any confidence left. Yeah, you wonder why? Murder rates skyrocketing nationwide. No place safe. No safe spaces anymore. 14%. Confidence in Congress, brace yourself, 7%. 7% of the American people, probably including you, probably not including you and me, rather, so only 7% have any remaining confidence in Congress. Folks, 11% of the American people believe in Bigfoot. Honest to God, that's a real figure. So people have more belief in Bigfoot than in the United States Congress now. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Only 20% of the people, according to an ABC poll that just came out, have any confidence left in our elections. 20%. 20%. That's not the kind of place you want to live. I'm sorry. Especially when the lack of confidence is correct. Here you go. I'm going to do this quick. It's almost going to be like a, flash buys here. What do you call it? Americans now spend more on taxes than food, clothing, and healthcare combined. CNS News. Is that really how you deserve to live? You work for the money. You have to spend more on your taxes than to provide for yourself and your own family. Not fair. Not fair. Inflation now is costing the average American family $11,500 this year. Here's a good one. Just came out, Western Journal. Okay, see the title there? Income needed to afford a house in America today. This is if you're doing the typical home with 30% of your household income as a down payment. In 2020, I'm talking 2 years ago. If you lived in Austin, Texas, you had to have $76,000 to have enough money to safely afford a home, at the 30% of your household income. Now it's $160,000. Indianapolis, Indiana, it was $36,000. Not bad. 2 years later, 67,000. 67,000, more than doubled. Los Angeles, California was 123. Now it's 222,000. Folks, it's $100,000 more for you to be able to buy a home. And we know right now the market's crashing and the interest rates are through the ceiling. You don't deserve to live like that. And what's the response of government? Well, they passed their Inflation Reduction Act, which is going to increase your taxes. If you're in the 40 to 50,000 range, good, solid, decent middle-class person, 70% of you are going to get a tax increase. That's the answer. Government's answer to destroying your personal economy is to raise your taxes. Well, they print more money in the last 20 months than they have in the previous 240 years. So the United States that we knew and loved, it ain't there. It's not there. And it's going to get worse. If you don't think it's going to get worse, think about this. This is, I know some people say, well, it's just since Biden. I'm sorry. It's not just since Biden. This catastrophe has been in the making. $1 in 1913, $1, which was backed by gold then, is now worth 13 cents. And it's continuing the slide down, 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 down. You cannot afford to live in the United States. So what's the alternative? Let's get to the happy talk here, okay? Well, the alternative has been discovered by millions of Americans, according to a Zogby poll, recent Zogby poll. 26 million Americans are now looking to move or own property offshore, okay? Led by you as an Offshore Club member, okay? Because you figured it out. You figured it out before most of those. Here's the operative quote from this Zogby poll. Future generations may look back at the first decades of the 21st century as the age of migration, out-migration from the U.S. south of the border. Yeah, why wait around? The Golden Visa organization just did a survey, found that among high net worth individuals, those are the rich of the rich, the richie rich. It ain't me and you probably, it's the richie rich. 300% increase in those looking to move offshore. Yeah, yeah. And why so much of that? Well, it's not just to escape what's going on here. It's that there's a better life down there. I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to finish this up. It's a better life down there. It really is. When you can live on about a quarter to a third of what you're being forced to pay up here, when you have essentially no income taxes, because on your first 110,000 you make, you get the earned income tax benefit from the U.S. government to escape the claws of the IRS. Plus, most of those countries down there don't tax you on your earnings if you're a non-resident or non-citizen. And if they did, it's minuscule, it's tiny, and none of the governments throughout Central America can afford 87,000 new armed IRS agents to bang on your door with a computer in one hand and a gun in the other. You ain't going to get that south of the border. It's not going to happen. Look, they do not have the police state down there that we have up here now. One thing, they can't afford it. Okay, the budget of most countries in Central America is less than the Justice Department in the U.S. Thank God in heaven for that. Plus, you don't have to worry about them spending all of your money waging wars all over the place. Daniel Ortega is not going to stand up at a political speech, as Mr. Biden did the other night, and warn that we're facing a nuclear Armageddon. When you make your move, forget about nuclear Armageddons. It ain't happening south of the border, okay? Look, it's the good life at a great price in a relaxed, serene, secure, and enjoyable atmosphere, okay? And one more thing. I know I'm out of time, but I'm going to say one more thing. The opportunities for entrepreneurship south of the border are through the ceiling, okay? Through the ceiling. Just did a great interview with Joel Nagel. I hope you all watch his show every week, every Thursday at Offshore.club, Global Wealth Fortress Report. And Joel talked about the opportunities for opening your own business offshore. Folks think of everything we have here they don't have there. Well, they want it there, so you can open the business and you can be the Ray Kroc opening the new McDonald's. Yeah, there is that kind of opportunity. Okay, there is that kind of opportunity. Don't think it's not happening. It's so funny. I said God works in mysterious ways. Just the other morning, my wife and I are in bed reading, and she says to me, Amor, she's from Honduras, you remember Zip Buffalo? I said, Princess, no, I don't. I remember Buffalo Bob, which of course she never heard of. It was 50, 60 years before her time. And Zip Buffalo is one of the biggest, has 10,000 employees in Honduras. And I remember then, yeah, that's right. I drove by his factory complex. Okay. Zip Buffalo, gringo, opened up a huge company down there, built it. I think he started in 1991. It's fantastic with it. And let me close on this. When you make, here's something to think about. When you make your move and you're starting your own businesses there, you're changing the economic atmosphere and the economic strata of the people down there, which is like an added bonus. It's a win-win for everybody involved. you know, it's funny. A couple of years back, a good friend of mine, Elisa, who I've interviewed here on Coffee with Carib Carter, some of you remember, from Honduras, delightful person from Honduras, middle class. We were at the mall in Tegucigalpa, no, San Pedro Sula, gorgeous mall, and a friend of hers came up and it was Honduran, and the woman turned to me and said, "Welcome to Honduras, the new land of opportunity." That says it all. Okay, that says it all. I'm going to stop right there. I can't say it better than that. Okay, I can't say it better than that. So when you make the move, where can you get extra money to live like King Tut, for Pete's sake? Okay, live every dream you have. Well, remember, the cost of living is so low. Home costs you 1/10 of what it does up here. Yeah, you're already a good ways there. But now let's talk to a gentleman who's going to tell you how to get the rest of the way. The investment guru, I say again, my friend, and just a tremendous guy, Tim Melvin. All right, I promised you earlier we were going to have a very, 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 very special interview with a guy that I've known for several years now, and it was like one of these people you meet and you like him, and there's a good reason you like him, because he's a good guy. Not only that, but he, to me, is the top financial advisor that I've ever met. The kind of guy that can help you. You know, a lot of you ask me, where, you know, how can I make sure I have enough money to live on? First of all, you don't need a lot of money to live on offshore. But with the money you can make, honest to God, with this gentleman, you can live like a king. So please join me in welcoming my favorite investment advisor, the guru, Tim Melvin. Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Carter, I am fantastic. It's good to catch up with you again. It's been a couple minutes as we've all been pretty busy taking care of business and doing things, but so it's good to see you again. And thank you for having me today, obviously.
It's fantastic. And you are down there in Florida, and thank God you're dry. You've dried out.
We are dry. We've still got a lot of trees down in the backyard. And as you can imagine, all the tree contractors are slowly getting to everybody, because I took one look at that pile of just, it's up over my head. And I'm just like, no, we're not doing that ourselves. I'm going to pay somebody to do that.
Well, you know, I told folks that you, to me, are the key to making sure that people can live well offshore and live more than well. With the advice you give people, they literally can live like princes, whereas if they were still in the U.S., it's hard not to have to live like a pauper. There are three figures that resonated in my mind, folks. Let me tell you. I want to put a URL up of it's a letter. Here it is right here. I want to show it to you. See this right here, folks. I want you to go read this. I want you to go read this, because a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is in this letter. I think it's like 20 or 30 pages, but you're going to love it. You're going to love it. Everything it says in that headline is true. It's in there. Gary's going to put up the URL. Check it out, because it's there. You go. Don't go now. Don't go. Or you're going to miss the interview. You're going to miss the man behind the letter if you go now. But we'll put it up from time to time so you can write it down. It's dynamic. Now you might say, well, Carter, it's a sales letter. Hey, yeah, so what? That's where you're going to get the information you need to make the money that you need to live well. Okay. Thank God. I say thank God for the letter. You'll see when you go to it. Tim, in that letter, talks about you've beaten the market by 325% over the past 20 plus years, right? Average better than 20% a year, whereas the market, you know, they tell us it averages 10. I don't believe it. I do not believe that the market averages 10, the random walk. What do you think about that, first of all?
Well, it depends how much time you have, Carter. I mean, if you're a 20, 30-year-old starting to invest today, you know, there's a good chance, because the market's got swings and cycles. And over time, it should average between 8 to 10% just based on economic growth, inflation. Right. However, imagine this scenario. You were 65 in, let's say, 1999. And they're telling you, stock market 10% a year, put your money in stocks. Put your money in stocks. And you put your money in stocks in 1999. You retired, came out, $500,000 in your 401k, whatever it was, 200,000, and you believed the advisor, so you put it all in stocks. Carter, you lost over half your money over the next 2 years. So, It depends when you're a buyer as to how well that long-term compounding effect of an index can be. I mean, if you have a granddaughter born to, right, anytime soon, yeah, put in the S&P index fund. He or she will have 60 years before they need to draw on it. They'll get that magic 10%. However, keep in mind that not even Warren Buffett thinks the 10% is going to be 10% anymore. We've had economic tailwinds over the last 50 years, mainly falling interest rates, that we're not going to have. You're not going to have the demographic changes. You're not going to have the pace of technology changes that fueled that 10%. So 10% is looking in the rearview mirror. I think you can do well with an index fund. I think you can do better by following some of the strategies that I'm going to outline for you.
That's fantastic. And I think Vanguard, which is a good investment fund, they're only estimating 3 to 5% looking forward in the forward market.
3 to 5. And the smarter guys, when it comes to equity and asset allocation, are a firm called GMO Capital. And James Montier and Jeremy Grantham and a few other guys are over there, and they're brilliant thinkers. They're saying negative returns for the next 7 years in U.S. stocks. They may not be wrong. This could be another lost decade, like we saw from 2000 to 2010. If you own an index fund in there, you did not break even.
And you had, but during this, even during the bad times, and I think, folks, this is what's important to you. What I love about Tim is even during the bad times, he can help you do good. And that is vital. I mean, I love this line from the letter I read, and folks, check it out. It is educational and informative, and even reading the letter is going to help you make sure you don't lose a bunch of money and then possibly make money. The back-tested track record through 22 years, that's Tim's record. It's through 3 recessions, a real estate crash, an oil crash, wars, a global meltdown, a pandemic, the list goes on. And through that all, he was averaging better than 20% a year. Market up, market down.
Yeah, and more importantly, it did it between 2000 and 2010. The system still earned over 20% when nobody else was making any money. Even if you own the tech stocks that rebounded nicely, by 2010, you didn't get all the way back to where you were coming into January 1st, 2000. So does it go straight up every day? No, this is the equity market. There's fluctuation. There's always some sort of risk. But if you just stick with the strategy over time, it continually, over a reasonable time period, has delivered very high profits. And it's so ridiculously simple that when I tell people, they look at me like, nah, that can't be true. That can't work that way. Because when you think of high return investing, what do you think of? Tech stocks, new technology, driverless cars, renewable energy, healthcare, biotech. And that's not what it is.
What it is fascinating. And it's one of the reasons that I got in contact with you as soon as I saw it, your newsletter, the 20% letter, which, folks, you need to subscribe to. It's $79 a year. You spend more than that on your Starbucks coffee a month, right? Okay. So for some of us, a week, $79 a year for an incredible newsletter and here's what's key to me. Correct me if I'm wrong about this, because, folks, I am not a financial guy. Okay. I wish I were. I'm just not. You tell people when to come in and out. I'm a guy who, if I invest, I'm going to be like Rip Van Winkle, go to sleep for 20 years and wake up broke. But am I right?
If you went to sleep for 20 years, you probably won't wake up broke, but I could have made you a lot more money using this strategy. Actually, I went in and I looked. I went all the way back to 2020. I said, okay, what happened if you put $10,000 into this strategy just over the last 20 years? If you had $10,000, it's worth $1.3 million today, which that's more than triple what the stock market would have been worth. If you started just 10 years ago, even then, the high compounded rate of return, you would have earned twice what the stock market indexes did in one of the best 10-year periods in market history. It outperformed the S&P. And here's the key to me. This strategy, and you're going to be blown away when I tell you exactly how we did this. You're going to be like, nah, that doesn't work. If you look at the tech-heavy NASDAQ 100, right? That's NVIDIA, that's Apple, that's Amazon, that's Google, that's Microsoft, that's
Banks,
all the big
all
tech
that,
stocks. Okay. This strategy outperformed that by 25% annually. So yeah, the return there was fantastic. It was 16%. This did over 20.
Incredible.
So compounding with that differential over time is just powerful.
Powerful. Okay, I want to get down to a nitty gritty here. Okay, because I was so impressed by this. I got to hold up this page again, folks. This is the opening page of the letter, and I just get a kick out of it, where he shows this rundown ramshackle bank, right? All right, and he says, "Could a beat up bank like this really have made you millions over the last 22 years?" Guys, I'm not kidding. The eyesores are cash cows, and there's 74 of them. Let's talk about an area that I know from a year, it had to be a year and a half ago, we did some stuff together that you have a unique expertise in, and that's helping people invest in banks that can make them a fortune. I got to read this. Let me preface it. I'm sorry to keep interrupting here, but if you had turned into these banks, these banks that you've recommend, average returns buying these tiny banks would have turned 25,000 into 4.1 million in I think a 22-year period. Is that right?
That's correct.
Wow.
It's really simple, guys. It's if you look at forget Citigroup and Bank of America and all those big banks, okay? You can own them if you want to. You probably do okay over time, but it's the smaller community and regional banks that can really deliver massive returns over time. In the letter, the 20% letter, the core strategy is high yield banks. We're looking for banks that pay high dividend yields to provide income for those that need it. If you don't need it, you can reinvest it to compound the return. Some people, take the dividend and leave the capital gains in, the capital appreciation in. It's whatever fits your particular lifestyle and need. But yeah, the returns have been in excess of 20 years for extended periods of time. And here's what's going on.
All right.
There's consolidation throughout the banking industry. And there has been, Reagan started it by allowing banks to buy distressed banks in other states, couldn't rebrand them. And then Bill Clinton in 1994 signed the interstate banking laws into effect. When all this started back in the 80s under Reagan, we had 18,000 banks. We don't need 18,000 banks. We just don't. Comparatively, France has like 43 or some crazy thing. And so we don't need this many banks. So the banks have been consolidating because it becomes a scale business, right? If I have a bank with $10 billion of assets, then I can afford to pay the lawyers to deal with the regulatory stuff. I can afford to add on technology. I can afford to put in the cybersecurity to protect that technology. And that's a big cost for bankers right now. Now, not for Jamie Dimon. He was spending $1 billion a month at one point. He never missed it at JP Morgan. But for the smaller banks, that guy in your state or your county that has a 10-branch bank, okay, it's getting tougher for him to keep up with that because since the pandemic, even grouchy old men like us, discovered that, we might miss talking to the pretty girl at the bank and having some of that really awful coffee while we chatted, but we could do things much quicker online. So even the Luddites among us suddenly were using, online banking. They wanted digital banking services. It's just same thing that happened with e-commerce. So now it's not, do you want to keep up with the digital offerings? You have to, because your customers are demanding it. So that's something you got to spend. Look, and as we all know, this is the land, the world of identity theft and digital theft these days. So you've got to spend an enormous amount of money on cybersecurity to protect your clients' data and cash, because one digital hack at a smaller bank and they're out of business.
Yep.
Okay, the reputational hit, Capital One can handle it. First Bank and Trust of Ottawa, Iowa can't handle it. Okay. Yeah. So, but the smaller banks, they're consolidating, they're getting taken over. And, of course, you always get a premium for the takeover. And then we had a valuation component in Carter that we're only going to buy banks at a certain price to earnings ratio. The lower, the better.
Beautiful.
Okay? So we were high dividends and low valuations. And as those valuations recover, we're able to constantly harvest those profits and reinvest them back in to other banks that fit our criteria. So rather than trying to figure out which new technology company is going to make it, because that's the real problem with technology investing, right? For every Amazon, there's a pets.com. Actually, there's 5 pets.com.
Right.
And for biotech, for every winner, there's 99 losers. So if you get it right, you might do real well. But if you don't get it right, you don't do well. With the banking, we can just be everybody's banker. Okay. We'll bank the winners and the losers, collect the fees, sell mortgages to their executives, and we'll do much better over time. But just owning these simple bank stocks, buying them at very low price to earnings ratios, selling them as they expand above a certain level, and harvesting a bunch of dividends along the way is the most powerful and easy to execute investment strategy I've ever run across.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And you, in the newsletter, in the 20% letter, you tell people month in and month out where the smart money is going in terms of banking, what to bank on, essentially, right?
Which
right. In the big letter, this one had me laughing, folks. It's going to have you laughing. All right, let's talk about this example. Okay, this example where Tim in his letter says this little bank here, all right, who the only way you'd know it was there is if you bought a sandwich at the sub stop next door and were dropping the wrapper in the trash next to it, and yet that bank gave people the shares were up 272%, I think, over 9 years. Is that right? Am I right on that? 9 years?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, about 9 years. Wasn't long. See, I know that a lot of people are coming along, and you're seeing pitches all the time for people that can double and triple your money by next Tuesday.
Yeah,
that's it. That's not how all this really works. Okay. Warren Buffett did not get, filthy, disgusting rich by trying to double his money by next Tuesday. Okay. It's a longer term compounding process, but we can still get you from here to there quicker than anybody else can, I think, quicker than most of the mutual funds, quicker than most of the hedge funds. The only guys that keep up with these rates of return are the top quartile private equity firms. And, if you've got $5 million to invest, they might have a conversation with you. This strategy you could put to work for a relatively small amount of money.
Guys, Tim,
I used to advise those guys. Yes.
They call you for advice, folks. They have his number on their speed dial. Okay. Let me make that clear. So you don't have to investify me. You can go to Tim instead.
Right. So it's a simple strategy. It's very easy to execute. You can execute it, right, on your phone, your computer. If you're really old fashioned and you insist on paying a full service broker, you can execute it that way. Although I do highly recommend in most cases using a discount broker for this. Why pay for what you don't have to? Yeah.
So these small banks, every month you are watching for the small banks where the best investments are, right?
Right.
And you let us know in the 20% letter.
Yep. Which one of these high yield, low, undervalued bank stocks that you want to be buying? We hold longer than most people do, Carter. I mean, a lot of people are trading in and out. We're going to hold until we think what we think is maximum value. We know about where, in terms of assets and earnings valuations, where the upper end of that range is. When we get to the upper end, we're going to take that profit and move on to the next candidate, but we're going to wait for it to get there. And again, I don't want anybody to come into this thinking, I'm just going to plug my money in, I'm going to get 20%, nothing's ever going to go down. This is the stock market, guys. I can't do a damn thing about what happens day to day, okay? There's a million morons out there. They're going to push stuff around in the short term. However, in the long run, an asset or company or bank is worth what it's worth. Now, fortunately, the stock market's consistent about the fact, yes, we're going to be able to buy it for less than it's worth. And if we're patient, we're going to be able to sell it for more than it's worth. I call it patient aggressive investing.
I like it.
In this case, banking is a necessary industry. It's not going away. Several years ago, there was all these financial technology companies were going to take the place of banks. And then they found out that, if they really wanted people's serious money, you had to have insurance, right? We love our FDIC insurance. Well, the regulatory loopholes that you have to go through to qualify to be an FDIC insured institution most of those tech guys, they didn't want to go up to that
There we
type
go.
of
Yep.
a deep dive discovery and observation by federal regulatory officials. So you've got this highly regulatory industry that is necessary pretty much to day-to-day life. We're going to invest in it in very favorable terms. There's a good chance our banks are going to get taken over by a larger bank looking to grow because, when we get through this inflation cycle, okay, we're probably going to have a recession in 2023, at least a mild one. But the economy is not going to grow at much more than 2% a year in the best of times. The U.S. economy is now too big. We're not going to grow like we did in the 50s and 60s. Those days are way behind us.
Right.
So it's going to be, about 2%. If we have a spectacular great year, it'll be about 3%. Most years, plus or minus 2%, just kind of chugging along. Well, if you're a publicly traded bank, your shareholder's not going to accept 2% annual growth. Okay.
Right.
So
right.
You can grow a couple ways by opening new branches, which is a very expensive process, or you can just buy a smaller bank. When you buy that smaller bank, you're going to be able to wipe out 35 to 40% of the expenses and just add all that revenue and now greatly expanded profit to your bottom line. So we're going to get a lot of takeover offers along the way for the banks that we hold in this portfolio. We're going to be using a 20 stock portfolio. And I bet you we get 2 or 3 takeovers a year on average as we go through this process.
Fantastic. And you're going to let us know when these takeovers are pending so we can make the money. One final question. The banks that you're going to be investments that you're going to be recommending, if I'm not mistaken, they provide both return on investment, equity return, and dividends for the most part. Is that correct?
Yeah, we won't put a stock in this portfolio that doesn't have a high dividend. I mean, if we can't collect 4% or more off of this, we're going to pass on that bank. We want banks that are being very generous about rewarding us as shareholders. I mean, the perfect bank for me, Carter, is one. It's trading at an 8 price to earnings ratio. They got a solid loan book. They're paying me a 4% dividend and buying back 2% of the stock in the open market at low prices every year. It's very hard when you find one of those banks. You have to work really hard at being dumb enough to lose money when you own that bank.
And fortunately, we don't have to do the work because we don't have to do any guesswork because you do all the legwork. Let me put it that way. And
right. I will mention that the link that Gary put up there for Investors Alley, so you can go and sign. There you go. That link right there. This is normally $79 a year. Okay. Now, Carter and I have been friends for a while. I'd love for you guys to check this out. So we're going to make you a special deal. $49 for the first year. It renews for $99 a year after that. But if you didn't like it, then don't renew. But $49 for the first year. There's some special reports in there. Some banks for you to buy that I think are great takeover candidates today. So just tons of information in there. Right. You get, our video chat with me once a week, pretty much.
Wow.
Once a month. Once a month, we have a big meeting to just talk things through and what's going on in the world. So I'm going to try to deliver more than the $49, believe me, in value to you. And I really think that this letter can launch you on a much more successful investing career that helps you get to that dream retirement, whether that's in Florida or the Caribbean or, Arizona or whatever it is that you want to do when you retire. I think we can legitimately help you get there quicker than you currently think is possible.
Tim, it's been fantastic.
It's been great catching up.
It's fantastic on 2 counts. 1, getting to see you again and talk with you. 3 counts, the information you've already given us, plus this great deal, $49. My subscription will be in, right after I sign off. Folks, you should do the same thing. Wait till you sign off. Okay. And hopefully we can do this every 6 or 7 weeks, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, we come on and, we'll talk markets, Carter. And see, one of the things in the 20% letter, I want to make sure you guys know, the banks are the core strategy. All right. But we have other things that we're constantly looking at that we think can deliver very high returns. For instance, right now, in addition to banks, there's pockets of the real estate market that are so cheap that the last time they traded at these type of prices compared to cash flows, real estate investment trust as a group soared by over 50%.
Wow.
So we're starting to selectively look for a few real estate investment trusts that we think have that type of potential over the next year for just massive gains. Not buying a lot of them because not a lot of them are going to fit the very strict guidelines. But when we come across other strategies and ideas, and the time is right, that can deliver 20% or more, we are going to add those to the portfolio mix to help make you money.
Great. Thank you, sir. This has been terrific.
Thank you very much. I look forward to talking with you again. And thanks for having me on today. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Go continue bailing out and drying out.
Well, we're not bailing out. We just got all those trees in the backyard. So I got to, they'll get to me eventually. In the meantime, my wife will nag me about it. And I'll say, yes, dear. And someday they'll show up and cut it all up for me.
That's a good strategy. See, very smart strategist right across the board.
It works.
Tim, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. There you go, folks. $49 for the year. That's for the year for a newsletter that can make you quite literally tens of thousands of dollars a year. Let me give you my Carib Carter caveat. Your offshore club makes no money off this. This is a service. This is what we're here for. It's a service so you can get the money to make your offshore investment, make your offshore move, okay? Good guy, isn't he? Good guy. Matter of fact, my favorite line from the letter, and one of the reasons I love him so much, is in the letter that I showed you that I want you to go look at after we're done talking. He says, now, I'm not like many of the stock guys out there. I'm old school. And you could tell by that conversation, couldn't you? Get with Tim. You can't lose. You will win. Bank on it. All right. All right. There you go. So Tim has now told you. Didn't I tell you he's a great guy? I did, didn't I? Super guy. He's a blue collar guy. He was raised in Baltimore. As a matter of fact, he was raised in the projects in Baltimore. Worked his way up. He's a good guy. He's told you how you can get a bunch of money. Yeah, a bunch of money. Regular coming in. Okay. Cash flow income. We love cash flow. So let's look at a place where I think you might, some of you, let me preface it with that. Some of you might want to consider spending some of that money, okay? Or some of the money you have in here as an investment with our $1,000 listing Caribbean, okay? Let's do our $1,000 listing Caribbean. I know a lot of you love this. Some of you have bought homes, others just enjoy seeing what's out there. I got a unique property to show you today. It's not for everyone, okay? All right. There you go. Vivian, we know we love Vivian. Luxury camping cabin for sale in Sandanal, on the heck, Punta Arenas, Costa Rica. Okay, and the price is $29,500. I think I'd offer him 20. That's just me. But I'm just saying. Okay, this is a campsite. Okay, it's a campsite, but remember, it's in Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Remember the Mike Cobb curve we looked at? Costa Rica up there, the area where this is way, the Pacific Costa Rica is way up on the smart investment scale. All right. See it there? And remember, Mike knows he owns he and his partner Joel own 5 or 6 Caribbean resorts. Started 26 years ago. He is the offshore investment oracle. So Costa Rica is a good investment. Okay. This property, I can read it all to you, but I'm going to show it to you because once you see it, some of you are going to go, what the heck? Others are going to go, man, I like that. I'm a little partial to it because those of you who follow my Carib Carter minutes on social media know I do a lot of them from a place my wife and I have in West Virginia called Riverbend Park, which is really a campsite, a glorified. I mean, there are 1,500 homes, some of them like $1 million homes. Mine is not. Others are trailers, okay? They're campsites. So I love the atmosphere, okay? This one's not quite as sophisticated as Riverbend Park, but let me show you what we're looking at here, okay? Okay, they say you can buy this one. They're saying $29,500, and it has everything you need in the campsite. Let's step back. I like to take the long view. Costa Rica. Let's look there, all right? See, Costa Rica, that's where we're talking about. We're looking now, okay? Costa Rica is kind of like a European Central America country, by the way. We're going to zoom in a little further. We're going to see Carnell on the Pacific there. It's not on the beach. It's not on the beach. It's more up in the higher elevations, okay? So the weather's kind of cool all year round, maybe even a little chilly in the evening for those who like to snuggle up or have a campfire or fire pit. My wife and I have a fire pit every evening up in West Virginia. It's near several beaches, within a couple miles of several beaches, okay? All right. There's one of them. But for people like me who like civilization, you know, that's kind of appealing. Here's the boardwalk at Caldera Beach. Okay, I'm just showing you these because I want you to get an idea of what's around you. And here's the beach that you're only 14 miles from. Very pristine beach if you're into the ocean life, okay, on the Pacific there. All right. As you can see, you don't have to worry about crowds. You are far from the madding crowd. So let's take a look at it now, okay? Let's take a look at it now. Ready? Brace yourself. For those of you who are not into rustic, just enjoy the ride, okay? Here is the home. I almost call it a home site, okay? It's a little more than a home site. It's a home, all right? All right, there we go. Kind of cozy there, kind of cozy. Another view of it. Another view of it here. They're camping, okay? It's the kind of place you're not going to go live there all year round. You're going to do like my wife and I do at Riverbend Park. It's a summer place, but Riverbend's only open from April to November. It's about to close. It's a place where you want to go visit, spend a couple weeks, maybe spend the entire summer. You're up in the mountain, cold air, okay? All right. Nice kitchenette. Now you might say, it looks like it's pretty much out in the open. Folks, when you're living in the Caribbean, everything's out in the open. You know, you don't need to be ensconced in four walls, okay? All right. Here you go. Have a glass there. The owner and his wife, the owners, I should say, having a glass of wine together. So you can see this nice and indoor area. Again, very cozy. The bedroom is in a tent area, okay? It's in a tent area. It's not going to blow away. It's not going to get rained in. It's a very big tent. So you can crawl in a double bed there. I would probably build another room myself, but that's up to them. It does have toilet facilities. So it's got the storage, everything you want for that. All right. And a shower. Got hot water shower. Very important to me. Good water pressure. And secure bodega to lock up your stuff when you're not there, which it's going to be most of the time. This is a place where you go visit for a couple of weeks at a time. But remember, it's not just in the summer like where my wife and I have our camp place, because this has great weather all year round. It's like eternal spring there in Cartanel, okay? Okay, and here's a picture that kind of wraps it all up. This is the life you're looking to live when you go there, all right? To me, I think it may be a good investment for two reasons. One, it gives you a great getaway. Great getaway. And you're going to enjoy every second of it. Again, there are some other people around. It's titled. Always check that. I always tell you, check that. There are some other people around. You're a couple miles from the beach. You know, you're 2 miles from the town of Cartanel, which is 14,000 people. So you're not stuck in the middle of nowhere. Okay. You're, essentially wildlife preserve, essentially, is where your getaway campgrounds is, okay? So think about it. I think, let me just say, I think for a place to get away to, spend, a couple months every year, right? A couple months every year, maybe it's all at the same time, maybe break it up and keep as a future investment. Remember the Mike Cobb investment curve? This is a place that's on the rise in equity. And over time, that property is going to be worth more and more and more money. So if all you do is get it, put it in your back pocket, keep it there, visit occasionally, enjoy yourself, relax, I think it's going to be very good for you. Okay? I think it's going to be very good for you. Check it out. Check it out. The number, the Vivian number, let me make sure we have it there. Just go to, you know how Vivian works. Go to Vivian to look at it yourself. Gary's got it up there already. Go to Vivian, type that number in the upper right-hand box, little box there. Going to take you right to it. Talk to the people. Talk to the people. Seem like a nice couple. They have a nice write-up. Jim and Sophie, she's Costa Rican. Just say to them, hey, what is life like for you? What's life like for you there when you're there relaxing? What's your lifestyle? Do you enjoy it? How often do you go to the beach? So you get an idea for the kind of things you might want to do. So there you got it. There is your $1,000 listing Caribbean. And it is definitely in the low thousands, isn't it? Good investment, good getaway. If that's your idea of a good time. For me, it kind of is, okay? I may put a room on for a bedroom, but for me, it kind of is. All right. And that brings us to our final element today. What I know has been a packed show. Your new Carib Carter Quickie quiz, all right? Remember, I'm going to ask you a question. You answer at caribcarter7, the number, at gmail.com, or text me. And the 25th response I get, this time, the 25th, I'll keep count of them, get my ledger there, bang, 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 keep count. That is the right answer. You get the $25 gift card. I don't know what the heck I did. There we go, your $25 gift card, okay? It says 10's 25. All right, here's the question. Ready? The first ever Carib Carter Quickie Quiz question. What was the name of the American renegade adventurer? This is so crazy, it's almost beyond belief. Who in 1856 declared himself the ruler of a Central American country. And what was the name of the country? It's twofold. What was the guy's name? A true fruitcake. He thought he was a gringo kingo and actually became the ruler of the country in 1856. Did not come to a happy end a couple years later. Give me the name and the name of the country for the $25 gift card. Ta-da! There is your new Quickie quiz. There's a number. Text me, email me. Fascinating story. Okay? A true fruitcake. But he did rule his own country for a while. So there we go. And for you, think about your future. What we started out with, you're not going to rule your own country down south, but I can guarantee you're going to enjoy your own country. You're going to enjoy a better life than you're being allowed to live now in the U.S. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. You didn't leave the U.S. The U.S. that we all loved left you. So think about it. Make your decision. And as I tell you every week, let's do this thing.